just want to be very, very clear with everybody here. I'm no visionary guru in any way, shape or form. Everything I'm going to be sharing with you today is from my life experiences. It's what I've learned going through work, through life, and what I've seen other people do. Okay, so for no reason should you be asking me exactly what, and how to deliver your vision. I also feel that, to a certain extent, nobody really knows exactly where they're going. I think what we're doing is more trying to get to somewhere where we'd love to be. And that's actually what I want to talk about today. So 27th February, 2 months down, 10 to go. How are those New Year's resolutions going? Statistically, within 30 days, 25% of people only 25% of people who set a New Year's resolution actually stick to them. And after 12 months, it goes down to 10%. To be fair to people like Emma, this is probably not very surprising because resolutions are about behavioral change and you can't change your behavior unless you change your beliefs. Any of you guys running a business, how are those company plans coming along? How's that company strategy? 2 months in, we spent probably all the last Q4 planning, getting budgets and all that, some beautiful PowerPoint presentations. What's happening with those? 49% of business decision makers do not know if their company actually has a strategic vision. And newsflash, make money, not a vision. Okay, that's just the result. On average, 95% of employees are also unaware of their company's vision. And if you work, with employees, we've got some great people here who do, they know that, and the people who don't know where they're going are the first people to quit, which is obviously extremely scary. If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And it's as funny as it is true. And most of us know that. We set all these amazing plans and we say, we're going to do this by this age. There's nothing more depressing than about to hit 40 or about to hit 50 and all those big dreams that you had as a kid. Not really quite there. Well, long-term planning is virtually impossible because by the time you've set your plans, the rate of change is so fast. Things just change as quickly as I'm changing these slides and you're all trying to read and catch up. And change is the only constant, no? Ask Bitcoin. Sorry, guys. Ask Kodak. Blockbuster Videos. I'm sure they're pissed off they never bought Netflix. Ask this guy.
Who's that?
Mauro Morandi. This guy was born in 1940, and at the age of 50, he decided he had enough living in Modena. He had enough of living in the city. He wanted to get away from pollution and live his childhood dream of living on a deserted island. He bought this 16-meter catamaran. He called it the Ferrari of the sea and set sail to the Polynesian islands. His dream, his hope was find a deserted island and live there for the rest of his life. As luck would have it, or bad luck, he got into a storm the minute he left Italy and was basically stuck in the Madeleine Islands of Sardinia, where he had to basically fix his boat. Whilst his boat was being fixed, he wandered off. I don't know if any of you guys have been around the Madeleine Islands, most beautiful place in the Mediterranean. He found this island called Budelli, and he met the warden on this island. And as luck would have it, this warden had 2 days left before he was going to retire. And so, before you knew it, Mauro Morandi became the new warden of this island. And he lived there for 30 years. And in fact, he just passed away actually this January. But the amazing thing is that even though his big plan, was to live on some deserted island in Polynesia, he ended up living actually closer to home. He still had all the benefit of the Italian food when somebody would come by with it. But the truth is, we only die once, but we can live every day, irrespective of what life happens. And life, as we know, does not always go according to plan. But we can still get to where we want to get to now, as long as we know what we really want, as long as our plans are agile, and as long as we're able to pivot. If you know, you know. We must know what success really looks like, and our vision must have some sort of purpose, no? We must really understand why we're trying to get to where we're going to get to. And we need to believe as well why it matters to us. James Stockdale was one of the most decorated admirals of the US Army to actually get stuck in Vietnam and was imprisoned for 8 years. If you've read the book From Good to Great, there's a whole thing about the Stockdale paradox. For 8 years, he was tortured, he was kept in solitary confinement, and he was, they tried to break his spirit, but for 8 years, he remained focused on the fact that one day he's going to get out. And his only mission was to stay hopeful, to stay dreaming, and to stay disciplined in making sure he'd never reveal any army secrets, any military secrets. And obviously, that all happened because he never confused, the fact that he would prevail in some way, this irrespective of how hard he was going to get to. When he did get out, and in various interviews, people asked him like, what kept you? And what kept him was that discipline to wake up every single morning to make sure that whatever he was doing was sticking to the dream, was sticking to the plan. And he'd never let his spirit die. And they also asked him like, who are the ones that failed? And the sad reality is that the optimists were the first to fall. And the reason was because they kept on hoping, and hope is not a strategy, that they'd be out by Thanksgiving, that then they'd be out by Christmas, by New Year's, or by Easter. And Thanksgiving came, Christmas came, New Year's Eve came, and nobody saved them. And they were the first to die because they just believed in hope. They weren't disciplined enough to stick to the plan. The ones who always, last are the positive realists. They understand that shit's going to happen. They understand that they need to stick to their dream. But when shit happens, they stick to the plan and they stay disciplined. For the last 25 years of my life, I've been really lucky to be working with some amazing entrepreneurs, and some less amazing. And the ones that really, that honestly, but the interesting thing is the ones that makes them really successful are those who are positive realists. And they have, clear purpose, clear principles. And they know why their vision is important. It's not about specifically getting to somewhere, but it's about why, which is even more important. They do care about the journey, but they also know that they need to just start. And those that really get it done are the ones who start right now, right here. They can paint a really good picture. If you sit down in a room with one of these people, they're extremely visionary. They are, they can really paint an amazing picture. They know what they're going to be doing when they get there. And they're phenomenal salespeople. You need to be really careful of these people because they can really sell a dream. If you've worked with one of these people, they obsess about details. I mean, if you read, biographies of Steve Jobs and similar people, you know how obsessive they are about what everything counts. They'll take progress over perfection because fundamentally you never get to perfect. And they're never happy because they keep on changing. They're always content to be on that journey. They view problems just as speed bumps because, as we know, shit does happen. And oh my God, they very rarely back down. I'm for sure that my son is going to be a successful entrepreneur because he never backs down. They are Swiss Army knives, okay? Jack of all trades, master of none, but always better than just being a master of one. They get themselves into everything and they figure out and they research and they try to understand, how everything works so they can explain it better. And they know the momentum is built, one step at a time. They know, that they just have to start, and they know that practice makes. No, it doesn't actually make perfect. In 2013, just before my third child was born, I decided to do a bit of a change of life. I had my very first midlife crisis, and I decided to stop just focusing on work, and I decided to start doing some training. So every morning at 5 o'clock, I'd hit the pool, I'd swim a couple of laps, go up and down. I got myself into some crazy challenges, and one of throughout the swimming career, and I got myself into these crazy challenges, I was adopted by a group of people, I call themselves mammals, middle-aged men in Lycra, who picked me up and tried to kind of make sure that I kept on the path. Probably because they were scared that at some point I'm going to leave my 3 kids without a dad. And throughout the training, they used to say, not this way, not that way. And one of the guys I was talking to, I told me, I know, Sam, practice makes perfect. He said, no, Pete, practice makes permanent. And it's true. I was getting fitter, but I wasn't getting faster. So if you continue, to practice a bad stroke, you're just going to have probably injuries and you're just going to get very good at a very bad stroke. So practice makes permanent. We need to focus on the 1%. We need to focus on the things that we can change every single day to improve and get us closer to that vision that we want to hit. No, I said it, Tony Robbins, okay? So you're a fan. It's not what you do once in a while. It's the stuff that shapes our lives. It's the stuff that we do consistently. And when you talk about practice, even in the dictionary, it's about habits. It's about, literally making those ideas come true. And in my opinion, practice defines who we become because our rituals reinforce our behavior. And our behaviors shape our outcomes. We say this at Brandwagon, a brand is what a brand does. And it's not just all the fancy stuff that we say on our beautiful campaigns and the cool, sexy logos that we create. You are what you do, repeatedly, every single day. Practice defines also how the world sees us. We're not, you are not what you eat, you are what you are seen eating on Instagram. And as Jeff Bezos says, a brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. What are people saying? What are the things that you're doing that people can comment about? And to succeed, obviously, in branding, you have to stand out. Your practice defines how you stand out. It's what you do on a repeated basis that actually shows you and shows up what makes you different. And finally, practice also defines who follows you. And show me the company you keep, and I'll tell you who you are. Because the truth is that if we want to achieve our vision, if we want to achieve our goals, and if we want to keep on practicing, we need to surround ourselves with people who are much better than us. Because our performance, our environment will dictate our performance. To achieve our vision, we also need to be surrounded with those people who get it. And if you're running a business, you know how important this is. If your people don't understand where you're going, you're never going to get there. Because you're all, pulling different ropes and you're all going in different directions. And as we say, with the right people on your side, you can probably get anywhere. It's that consistency that drives trust. You show up in the same way every single day, people know exactly who you are. If you start acting in different ways every single day, people are going to question, who the hell are you? No one's going to trust you. To be a leader today, you need to be an influencer and not a content creator. You just need to become a key person of influence. You need to understand where you want the world to see you, and you need to start being seen specifically in that place. For your team, for your customers, and the truth is the world is your stage today. 5.52 billion people on the internet. 1.2 billion of those speak English and have English as their internet browsing channel. So there is a reason why we're not sharing what we really believe in, and why we're not standing up and talking about what we actually believe in. And it's not about using ChatGPT to create all the content on LinkedIn. I'm honored and privileged and all that extra bullshit that you see on every single day. It's about bringing your personality. And your personal brand matters. People care about what you do. And if they care about what you do, they will share about what you do. The truth today, anyone who works in social media knows this. People share less branded stuff, more personal stuff, 24 times as much. So even if you look at LinkedIn, the posts that get traction are the posts that were written in a very personal, human way by people who actually believe in what they're doing. If you want to know how to run LinkedIn, speak to Patrick over here. And anything on finance, you're welcome. So if you want to achieve your vision, Simon Sinek, start with why. Your purpose is really, really important. Understand why where you want to get to is extremely important. Pivot. Things are going to happen. Things are going to change. Life's going to happen. You need to be able. You need to be agile. You need to be in a position where you can pivot your plans. And finally, to me, practice makes permanent. So show up every single day and do what matters. Thank you very much.